Amazing discovery. Struggling girl helps old man cross street, turns out he's a millionaire. Emily raced down her suburban street, backpack bouncing against her back, the bus looming at the corner. It was just another day in a relentless routine that consumed her life. School, 2 jobs, and the faint glimmer of college hopes. Glancing at her watch, her heart sank as her breathing quickened. But then, something caught her eye, a frail figure, tapping slowly across the blacktop, his cane struggling against the stream of honking cars. Mr. Thompson, the elderly man from her neighborhood, was caught in the frenzy of traffic, a heartbeat away from a disaster. "Come on, Emily! You can't be late again!" She mentally scolded herself, but her legs wouldn't move. Something about Mr. Thompson's stillness pulled her closer, urgency mixed with a strange tenderness. As if compelled, she rushed over, kneeling beside him. "Here, let me help you," she said, offering her arm. The world around them blurred as she focused on his thin, quaking frame, feeling the weight of her own neglect in her heart. Every moment felt like an eternity, a reminder of her struggles to blend into a world that valued privilege over hard work. It was just a few blocks, but to Mr. Thompson, it was an insurmountable journey. A flicker of doubt pierced her resolve. Was this even worth it, considering the hours of homework waiting back home? She brushed the thought aside, a small voice whispering that humanity mattered more than grades or shifts. Before she knew it, they reached the other side. "Thank you, dear," he said, his eyes glimmering with gratitude. She nodded, a smile breaking through her worry. But as she turned to run, the voice of her boss echoed in her mind, berating her for every missed shift, every late assignment. Flashes of her classmates' laughter nagged at her. They never missed a chance to mock her blue-collar roots, calling her a diner girl as if it were an insult. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. She arrived at school late, the day stretching out ahead like a barren wasteland. Homework loomed heavily in her backpack, reminders of months spent juggling books and waitressing tables. Her dream felt further away than ever. To her dismay, she took a hard hit after a minor injury during her shift last week, slowing her down. With bills waiting and time running thin, the pressure spiraled. As she fought for balance in her shaky world, she stumbled into a community fundraiser one night, where her story spilled out with uncharacteristic candor. But as murmurs about Mr. Thompson's hidden wealth began to swirl, she felt a burning coil of disdain tightening around her heart. Did kindness really come with strings attached? Caught between fear and hope, Emily's mind raced. What did it say about her if she accepted help from a millionaire after a moment of compassion? Wasn't her struggle the very reason for her worth? The night weighed heavy with unanswered questions. Suddenly she felt the rush of judgment, both from the crowd and from herself. As her peers' laughter echoed in her mind, she stood on the brink of a decision, one that could twist her already fragile identity. The weight of the moment pressed down, the answer lingering just out of reach. Could the kindness she'd shown to Mr. Thompson be a bridge between their worlds, or another hurdle in her quest for self-respect? The conflicting forces of ambition and dignity engendered a storm within her, and she realized, standing at that crossroads, it was only the beginning of her unraveling story. The following days turned into a swirling vortex of anxiety and contemplation. Emily felt a disruptive fog clouding her judgment, the implications of her encounter with Mr. Thompson buzzing in her head like a swarm of relentless bees. At night, she lay awake, replaying the moment over and over, searching for meaning amid the tumult of her chaotic life. As she shuffled through crowded hallways at school, whispers followed her like shadows. "Diner girl," they'd murmur, their laughter echoing off the walls. With every jab, the girl she fought to be drifted further away. The sickening feeling in her stomach intensified as she spotted Mr. Thompson's name splashed across local headlines. "Mystery benefactor emerges," the articles proclaimed, spreading excitement amongst her peers. They buzzed with curiosity, yet Emily felt sick at the idea of being tied to such a story. Did they care about Mr. Thompson or just the allure of wealth? With each passing day, she spiraled into a maelstrom of confusion. Every time she earned $1, the number stared back at her, a constant reminder of the struggle that came with it. But now, she had new questions. Who was she in this maze of privilege and responsibility? Did she even want to be part of a society that celebrated monetary success over integrity and effort? Determined to demand an answer from her own thoughts, Emily decided to confront her fears head-on. She darted to the community center where the fundraiser was held, hoping to find Mr. Thompson. As she entered the familiar space, she felt the energy shift. The room was filled with laughter and chatter, a sharp contrast to her turmoil. She drifted toward a corner table where fundraising pamphlets lay like forgotten dreams. But he wasn't there. The tension in her chest tightened as frustration mounted. What did she expect? That he would just be waiting to hand her a bag of cash as if that would erase everything? As her anger simmered, she stumbled upon a group of volunteers, faces aglow with purpose. They were organizing tomorrow's charity gala, and their enthusiasm was infectious. Before she could overthink her decision, Emily blurted out, "I want to help." The words poured out of her like a dam breaking, fueled by a need to connect with something real. The volunteers welcomed her with open arms, giving her tasks that demanded her attention and stretched her capabilities. For the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of hope flicker within her. Concurrently, the buzz of her social circle began to fade. What did it matter if they branded her as a diner girl when she was actively choosing to redefine herself? With every phone call she made, every flyer she distributed, a new facet of Emily emerged. She discovered her knack for organization, her ability to stir excitement in others. Each small victory sparked a determination she had forgotten existed. And yet, beneath this budding confidence, the specter of Mr. Thompson lingered. She still felt tethered to him, unsure if their paths had crossed for a reason or if he would remain a distant enigma. As the day of the gala loomed, Emily could not shake the question that had haunted her since that fateful moment on the street. Would she find Mr. Thompson there? Would their connection be explored beyond mere charity? Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the confrontation ahead. The time had come for her to face whatever truths awaited her in that ritzy ballroom, be they shattering or empowering. What awaited her beyond the doors? Would she seize the chance to carve her own identity, or would the blurry lines of wealth and kindness entangle her further? Each step closer to the gala swelled her heart with both anxiety and excitement, anchoring her resolve. The moment of truth was finally approaching. As Emily approached the entrance of the gala, the juxtaposition of her ordinary attire against the opulence of the venue made her acutely aware of the tension within her. Crystal chandeliers hung with an almost mocking elegance, casting a warm glow that illuminated the gleaming surfaces of polished marble. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, feeling like an outsider stepping into a world she barely understood. Inside, laughter and the clinking of champagne flutes melded into a symphony of extravagance. Each conversation buzzed with a mix of ambition and entitlement, a stark contrast to the humble atmosphere of the diner where she worked. Emily clenched her fists, reminding herself why she had come. This wasn't just a soiree. It was a chance to confront her growing discomfort with her own identity. Navigating through the crowd, she began to notice familiar faces among the attendees. A knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach as she greeted acquaintances whose laughter had haunted her days at school, now mingling freely in their elegant outfits. Would they see through her facade? Would they shatter the fragile confidence she had built in her newfound purpose? Thoughts whirled in her mind as she sidled up to the refreshment table. She poured herself a glass of sparkling water, hoping the cool liquid would calm her nerves. Just then, Emily spotted Mr. Thompson across the room, draped in a tailored suit that accentuated his presence. He was flanked by a small entourage, animatedly discussing plans for community improvement and philanthropic endeavors. Her heart quickened, the surrealism of the moment almost suffocating. Approaching him felt like stepping onto a tightrope, balancing between admiration and fear. What would he think of her, of the girl who had felt so small just weeks prior? As she moved closer, the palpable energy in the room flipped her internal narrative. She was more than just a diner girl. She was reinventing herself, finding her voice amid the fabric of society's expectations. Emily took a deep breath, summoning her courage. "Mr. Thompson," she ventured, stepping into his line of sight. He turned, his expression shifting from surprise to recognition that slowly morphed into a warm smile. "Emily! I was hoping to see you here," he said, his voice radiating genuine warmth that met her chest like a comfortable embrace. "I wanted to help with the gala," she said, feeling a rush of pride as she spoke. "It's been an incredible experience. I never thought I could find a place where my contributions mattered." His eyes sparkled with interest. "And you've done an amazing job. Your organization brought in more volunteers than we anticipated. You should be proud." Their brief exchange sparked a newfound conviction in Emily. She yearned to share her thoughts, the complexities she had wrestled with ever since their first encounter. "I've been thinking about how society values money and status, and I'm starting to wonder if I even want to play that game. What does it all mean?" A thoughtful silence loomed between them. Mr. Thompson regarded her with an intensity that momentarily disarmed her. "That's a crucial question, Emily. Sometimes, it's not about playing the game but changing its rules. What do you think your role can be in that?" The weight of his question reverberated through her. What if she could redefine the narrative? No longer just a girl from the diner, but someone who could challenge the societal norms and forge a different path, a path defined by authenticity rather than wealth. Before she could respond, a commotion erupted nearby. A woman in an extravagant dress had collapsed, drawing attention and concern from those around her. Instinctively, the moment consumed Emily. How could she leverage her growing confidence and empathy in the face of chaos? Steeling herself, she shifted her focus to the scene, heart racing with renewed determination. This gala held not just the essence of privilege, but also the potential for connection, for understanding, and perhaps even revolution. What would her next move be? Would she step in to help, embracing her evolution, or would she retreat into the shadows once more? The choice stood before her, a definitive moment that could shape her identity once again. Emily scanned the scene unfolding before her, her thoughts racing as the atmosphere shifted from jubilance to urgency. The woman in the extravagant dress lay motionless on the polished floor, gasps of shock echoing around her. A part of Emily wanted to retreat, to blend back into the anonymity of the crowd, but the fire ignited by Mr. Thompson's earlier words urged her forward. Adrenaline coursed through her veins as she pushed her way through the throngs of spectators, their murmurs a backdrop to the urgent need for action. The cold sparkle of the chandeliers reflected her determination, illuminating an emerging resolve. She had spent too long hiding, too long dismissing her potential for impact. Here, in the chaos, was an opportunity to break through the confines of her previous identity. Kneeling beside the fallen woman, Emily assessed the situation with heightened clarity. Beyond the opulence surrounding them, this was just a person, a sick individual in distress, and she had learned in her diner days the importance of compassion. The crowd's murmurs faded, and the world shrank to a singular focus: the woman's pale face and shallow breaths. "Someone call 911!" A voice pierced through the growing tension. Emily's mind fired with thoughts. She had no formal training, yet instinctively felt the urge to provide comfort. She placed a gentle hand on the woman's shoulder. "Stay with us. Help is on the way," she murmured, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The woman stirred at the sound, her eyelids fluttering open with confusion. In that moment, Emily felt a flicker of connection, a bridge between their disparate worlds. She could be more than just a background character. She could take charge, even in a moment of fear and uncertainty. As a few bystanders began to follow her lead, some crowding to witness, others checking for pulse or warmth, Emily felt a swell of unexpected confidence. It was a reminder that her value was not solely tied to her previous life. She could be a contributor, a problem solver. But could she sustain this energy? What if this moment was just a fleeting spark, a temporary escape from her legacy of obscurity? Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air, and paramedics rushed in, taking command of the situation. Emily retreated slightly, allowing professionals to take over, but the sense of pride lingered. She had acted in a moment that mattered. Familiar faces from her past cast glances her way now, eyes filled with a mix of surprise and newfound respect. She caught Mr. Thompson's gaze, once again needing the warmth of his approval, and for the first time, she felt a shift in acknowledgement of her growing presence in this world. As the crowd began to disperse, murmuring about the incident, Emily's heart thudded with revelation. She had a voice, albeit shaky, but it was hers. Beyond the facade they all upheld, she sensed a fragile humanity, a thread connecting them all, a thread she was learning to grasp. But amid this clarity, a nagging thought persisted: how would she cultivate this courage into something more sustainable? How could she ensure this moment wasn't just an anomaly but a catalyst for deeper change? She knew there were challenges ahead, battles to be fought within herself and with the world outside. Determined, Emily stepped away from the crowd, her canvas shifting from chaotic moments to the bigger picture. She sensed an urgency building within her, a call to action that transcended mere appearances. With the gala behind her, she was at a crossroads. What would her next venture look like? Aiming to redefine the narrative, she resolved to establish not only her identity but a purpose that encompassed more than the former confines she had lived in. As she embraced the potential of the unknown, a new question arose in her mind: where would this journey lead? The reflections of her past no longer seemed like weights holding her down. They had become data points, guiding her next move. Feeling invigorated yet uncertain, she strolled toward the exit, her mind racing with possibilities. This was just the beginning. As the world outside awaited her next steps, one possibility stood out vividly: what if she could spark a movement toward depth in places too often defined by superficial connections? What if her struggles could lead to something monumental? That very thought lingered in the air like a promise, keeping Emily poised on the brink of her next leap into the world that awaited her beyond the glitz and glamour. As Emily stepped onto the street, the cacophony of the gala faded into a subdued hum, replaced by the distant roar of traffic and the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. She took a deep breath, her mind still buzzing from the adrenaline and the profound shift in her self-perception. The world outside was vast and vibrant, a stark contrast to the polished walls of the event she'd just left behind. She felt a pull towards the unknown, where each new encounter could carve out another fragment of her evolving identity. Driven by curiosity more than a clear plan, Emily began to wander. Her feet carried her down avenues framed by flickering streetlights and vibrant shop displays. The city's pulse thrummed beneath her, and she relished her growing confidence. With each step, the remnants of her old self seemed to shed, revealing layers she had never fully explored. She had a vivid image in her mind of who she could become, and it was empowering. As she crossed a busy intersection, an elderly man caught her eye near the curb. He stood there, uncertain, glancing nervously at the thrumming traffic. In that moment, instinct took over. Emily felt the magnetic pull of responsibility tugging at her heart. "Let me help you," she said, moving closer. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face, lines of age mapping his features. She offered her arm, and he hesitated for a moment before accepting her guidance. Together, they navigated through the disarray of honking horns and fast-moving vehicles. Crossing to the other side, the old man turned to her, gratitude clear in his eyes. "Thank you, young lady. It's not easy to get around these days," he said, his words laced with a sense of resilience. He steadied himself, still gripping her arm with a lingering hold. "It was my pleasure," Emily replied, feeling an unexpected warmth in her chest, recognizing that her actions mattered. She didn't merely assist a stranger, she had connected with someone, warmed by a shared moment of humanity. "What's your name?" he inquired as they paused at the edge of a small cafe, where the aroma of brewed coffee wafted invitingly in the dusk air. "Emily," she said, her voice tinged with newfound assertiveness. "And you?" "Max," he replied, a twinkle sparking in his worn eyes. "You have a kind heart, Emily. Not everyone stops to help these days. Young people rush by, stuck in their own worlds." As they stood there, Emily felt a wave of humility wash over her. She had often felt like an outsider looking in, but helping Max illuminated the deeper threads connecting human experiences. I was just at an event, she shared, feeling compelled to convey her transformation. It made me realize how I want to contribute, to make a difference, you know? Max regarded her thoughtfully. And it begins with small actions, my dear. Each choice echoes. You already took a step in the right direction tonight. His words resonated within her, becoming an affirmation. But as they talked, the lingering doubt began to creep back in. What did she really want? Was she capable of cultivating the change she yearned for, beyond this fleeting moment? A flicker of determination ignited again in her heart. I want to do more, help people in ways that matter. But sometimes I just don't know how. That's where most begin, Max replied, his voice steady. But don't fear the unknown. Often, it leads you to surprising places. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Her unease twisted into a question: was Max more than just a benevolent stranger? As they continued conversing, tapping into dreams and aspirations, hints of his past began to surface, wrapped in stories she could hardly grasp at first. The pieces of his life, once obscured behind a curtain of mystery, hinted at a longer journey. Could this man one chance encounter be key to uncovering her potential and perhaps connect her to a world brimming with opportunity? Emily felt a shiver of excitement weave through her. As they lingered, Emily knew she was teetering on the edge of something significant, the promise of her next leap beckoning. What if this ordinary moment would lead her into extraordinary possibilities? A gentle thrill danced in the air as she forced herself to confront a burgeoning thought. Could she trust this emerging connection to deepen her understanding of herself and the world? With those questions swirling, the horizon ahead felt rich with potential. Emily's conversation with Max had awakened an urgency within her, a drive to transform her fleeting revelations into lasting change. Stepping away from the cafe, she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and took a moment to gather herself. The city around her pulsed with life, unfurling stories hidden just beneath the surface of every interaction. Max, what did you do before you became, well, you? She asked, curiosity bubbling up. She needed more than the momentary connection, she craved insight. His life experiences, woven into the fabric of his existence, could offer her the perspective she sought. His expression shifted, a flutter of nostalgia crossing his features. I lived a full life in the world of finance. I built businesses from scrappy ideas, at least, that's what the world saw. Emily leaned closer, fascinated. So you understand risk, and perhaps, how to navigate the unknown? Yes, Max replied, the shadow of a smile playing on his lips. In business, every decision carries consequences, both intended and unforeseen. It's about weighing the risks and understanding what you can lose and gain. Her mind raced. The implications of his words ignited ideas in her. If navigating her career meant accepting risks, what would she have to sacrifice? Would the pursuit of her aspirations require her to shed the hesitance that had wrapped around her unlike a safety net? What did you learn? She pressed, feeling a surge of determination. What's the key to taking those risks? Balance, he said firmly. A balance between caution and courage. There's value in embracing the unknown, but never at the cost of your principles. He paused, locking eyes with her. You need to discover what your principles are first. The clarity of his statement hit Emily hard. She had been so wrapped up in her desire for change that she hadn't scrutinized her core values. What did she stand for? What would she refuse to compromise? As she considered these questions, a wave of anxiety washed over her. The very thought of defining her principles felt daunting, as if establishing a foundation with unyielding ground rules. Yet, a whisper of excitement accompanied it. Here was a chance to peel back the layers and unveil the authentic Emily within. Max, what if my values conflict with the aspirations I want to pursue? She asked, her voice steady despite the tremor of uncertainty. What if I want to help people, but I also want to achieve financial independence? His brow arched slightly, his gaze unwavering. Then you learn to integrate them. The challenge lies not in the conflict itself, but in how you reconcile those differences. Discover what drives you, let that guide you. Start with small actions, as you did tonight. His words lingered, making her newly rejuvenated spirit flicker with possibility. Even small choices could accumulate into something meaningful, creating ripples in her life as they had in this moment with Max. "Can you help me?" she asked impulsively, feeling the momentum of her desire for growth. "I mean, you've seen success. I would love to learn." A surprise glimmer flashed in his eyes before he nodded thoughtfully, as if weighing the weight of her request against the fabric of their encounter. "Very well. But remember, it won't just be about mentorship. It'll require introspection and honest evaluation of your path." The charge of his words anchored her heart. She was plunging into the deep end. She felt exhilarated, yet apprehensive about what awaited her. Would she uncover latent strengths, or would she encounter walls of her own making? Emily squared her shoulders, grappling with the gravity of her choice. "I'm ready for this journey, Max. I'll explore my values, embrace the risk, and find ways to balance my dreams with my heart's intent." "Then let us begin, Emily." As they ambled down the vibrant streets, ideas spiraled through her mind, merging her dreams with the reality that awaited her. A world filled with potential began to take shape, a world that had now become her battleground of self-discovery. Yet within the excitement lurked the unease of confronting the unknown. What might this journey demand of her, and could she truly rise to the challenge? The thrill of possibility surged through her blood, cushioned by a growing determination. With every step, she felt herself edging closer to a crossroads, where one path may unravel her fears while the other could cement a version of herself she had yet to meet. Would she have the courage to embrace all that awaited in that uncharted territory, or would uncertainty close off paths she yearned to explore? The night air thickened with the scent of impending change. The following morning, Emily jolted awake, excitement bubbling beneath her skin. Today marked the start of her transformation. How odd, she thought, that just days earlier, she had existed within the same mundane routine, bound by self-doubt and indecision. Now, all she could think about were the questions forming in her mind, buoyed by Max's challenge to deepen her self-understanding. She dashed to her desk, black coffee cooling in her hands, and opened her journal. Each blank page beckoned, whispering promises of discovery. A vision bloomed in her thoughts, a list of her core values, the bedrock of her aspirations. She wrote: integrity, compassion, independence, and creativity. Each word bore weight, each was a different thread in the tapestry of her identity. But as she reflected, another thought flickered uncomfortably. Would upholding these principles in her professional life bring pleasure or pain? Was it so simple as to just declare what she believed in? The anxiety tightened around her chest as she sketched out her dreams beside these principles. The desire to uplift others weighed heavily against the desire for financial gain. Could she truly honor both? The clock ticked loudly in the silence, pulling her attention back to the pages before her. Maybe she needed to take small actionable steps to see how these values aligned with her ambitions. A connection suddenly snapped into place. What if she started volunteering for a local organization focused on community development? It wouldn't just help her serve others, but could also plant seeds of professional networking. Two birds with one stone, she mused. That decision sparked a fierce elation. She could feel herself coursing with newfound energy. Yet the gnawing fear of failure stirred within. What if she wasn't good enough? What if her efforts were futile, leading only to disappointment? Forced to confront this fear, she resisted the urge to shrink back. What Max had said echoed through her mind. Embrace the unknown. Resolutely, she pushed the doubt to the side, deciding that action, no matter how small, was the antidote. She scrolled through her phone, searching for local organizations that aligned with her values, each swipe revealing potential pathways to growth. After settling on a community center focused on education, Emily drafted an email, introducing herself and expressing her desire to volunteer. Hit send. Just like that, a single step transformed her uncertainty into an active pursuit. The adrenaline surged through her again, mingling with apprehension. What if she faced resistance? What if no one wanted her help? Such thoughts clawed at her optimism. In that moment of hesitation, she reflected on Max's words about balance. She deepened her commitment to growth by returning to her principles, reminding herself why she wanted to do this in the first place. This small endeavor was not just a chance to help. It was a chance to understand herself, her capacity for empathy intertwined with ambition. Days passed as she awaited a reply. Each empty email notification nudged her doubts. But she held fast, determined not to let the waiting drag her back into fear. Instead, she filled her days with research on nonprofits, strategizing how they operated. Which offerings resonated with her values? Then, one evening while volunteering at a local soup kitchen, an elderly gentleman with white hair approached her. They began chatting, and she found herself spilling thoughts on the community initiative she wanted to develop. His wise laughter cut through the air, illuminating the richness of her ideas. Before they parted ways, he pulled her aside, the moment blinking with potential. "You remind me of someone, a young woman who took risks, much like you. The question is, have you yet identified what you are willing to risk for what you truly want?" The weight of his question lingered long after they had said goodbye. What was she willing to risk in her journey toward balancing her values with her aspirations? As she walked home, the city buzzed around her, its heartbeat pulsing with shared stories. Despite the provocative question hanging in the air, a renewed conviction spun her thoughts around the tapestry of her aspirations. What if this stranger held the key to unlocking an even greater potential within her? And what if, as she would soon discover, her journey involved confronting not only the world around her, but also the complexities lurking within her own motivations? The darker clouds of doubt felt undeniable, yet Emily also sensed that she was at the edge of something significant, a threshold straddling her past hesitations and a future she could shape. The night was heavy with anticipation, a palpable reminder that she was both an architect of her destiny and a pilgrim in search of self. The time had come to dig deeper and face the true cost of her aspirations and ideals. What awaited her beyond that threshold? Emily woke the next morning with a sense of urgency fueling her veins. The conversation with the elderly gentleman echoed in her mind, his words a drumbeat urging her to look within. What was she willing to risk? The thought haunted her as she prepared for the day ahead, her usual coffee rituals punctuated by a simmering anxiety that crackled in the air. She glanced at her phone, still no reply from the community center. The email seemed like an eternity ago, and as each hour ticked by, her hope began to fray. It was easy to slip back into her old routines, doubting the leap she was attempting. Could she revel in the risk of failure? Was she meant for more than the safe predictability of her current existence? The questions wove through her thoughts like a complicated tapestry. As the sunlight streamed through her window, she felt a flicker of determination. Instead of waiting, she decided to create her vision instead of just contemplating it. She opened her journal once more, flipping past the list of values. Today, she would map out her ideas for the initiative she had mentioned to the gentleman, a program targeting educational opportunities for underserved kids. The ink flowed from her pen as she wrote down possible workshops, collaborations, and potential objectives. But with every brilliant idea, a shadow loomed. The worry was insistent. She cringed at the reality that she had no experience, no backing, and no clear path ahead. Would anyone take her seriously? Confronting that skepticism urged her to think differently. She could reach out to her network, tap into her social circles for help. As jolts of energy surged through her, she texted a few friends, asking if they would want to brainstorm together or join her in this endeavor. She felt adrenaline spurring action. Almost instantly, her friends replied with enthusiasm, each bringing their unique talents to the table. Sarah, a graphic designer, offered to help with marketing. Jake, a seasoned educator, expressed interest in leading some workshops. Their eagerness validated Emily's vision. It felt suddenly real. That afternoon, Emily met them at a cafe. Their discussions were eclectic, a blend of aspirations and plans that flowed seamlessly. Ideas sparked and danced, with each suggestion intertwining into a structural framework for what could become a thriving program. Laughter filled the air, an ecstatic backdrop to what had once felt like a solitary endeavor. Yet the specter of uncertainty still loomed. Just as her excitement sharpened, doubt whispered, mocking her ambitious vision. During a lull in the conversation, she hesitated, curbing her tongue as self-defeating thoughts threatened to seep back in. Shouldn't they consider what could go wrong? What if they failed or got lost in the process? Before she could spiral, Jake cut through her anxious reverie. Hey, Emily, you haven't said much about your own experiences. Why are you so invested in this? The question struck her like a physical blow. Why? She dug deep for honesty. Because I've always wanted to make a difference, but I've never known how. I want to help, to create, but it's terrifying to think it's up to me. Her friends leaned in, their expressions shifting to understanding. They began exchanging their own insecurities, and Emily realized that each one of them had their battles. Their shared moments of vulnerability forged a strengthened resolve in her. She was not alone in her pursuits or fears. In that camaraderie, her doubts receded, shifting into something more constructive drive. Instead of needing to impress the world, she only had to remain true to her vision and values. Days turned into weeks of development and brainstorming sessions. Ideas varied from creating tutoring sessions to mentorship programs. As they sculpted their project, Emily found herself growing. Every small victory, a well-attended meeting, echoes of laughter during their planning propelled her to face reality. But curiosity wouldn't leave her, especially around the man from the soup kitchen. Was he simply a passerby or something more significant? Maybe he had been a catalyst, but the true essence of his challenge lingered. What was she willing to risk? Amid these reflections, a familiar email notification popped into her inbox. The community center had finally replied, inviting her for an introductory meeting. Emily's heart raced, and she felt exhilarated. This could either launch her vision forward or push her to confront her deepest fears. Standing at the intersection of promise and self-doubt, Emily realized she was on the brink of something monumental. How would she navigate this next chapter? What revelations awaited her as she forged ahead? The stakes had never felt higher. Emily paced in her small living room, the looming meeting filling her with both dread and excitement. She could almost feel the weight of the possibilities pressing on her chest. Each tick of the clock reminded her that time was slipping away, pushing her further into uncharted territory. With every mental scenario she rehearsed, doubt clawed back into her consciousness, whispering that she was unprepared, underskilled, and unworthy of this opportunity. Yet, the exhilaration of change surged beneath her skin. She had initiated something from nothing, and she had friends willing to invest their time and talent into her vision. Those moments of laughter and engagement with Sarah and Jake were invaluable. They had birthed ideas she had once found daunting. The apprehension she felt about the meeting had transformed into a burning need to prove herself, not just to others but to herself. As she sat down at her kitchen table to prep for the meeting, she took a deep breath. This was the crux of the challenge, a chance to merge her ambition with tangible action. Grabbing her notebook, she began sketching out points she wanted to cover, her vision, the objectives, and how her friends could contribute. But as she wrote, an unwelcome sentiment crept in. Was she really credible enough? The intimidating aura of the community center, established and full of resources, made her feel small and insignificant. She shook her head, forcing herself to confront that line of thought. Wasn't this the very reason she had embarked on this journey? To rise above the self-imposed limitations? The elderly gentleman's words echoed once more. What was she willing to risk? Transcribing her thoughts became cathartic, and with each stroke of her pen, clarity emerged. She realized her genuine investment wasn't simply tied to her passion. It was informed by her own background, her struggles, and the journey she had traversed. Emily wanted to create pathways that she never had, offering opportunities for those who felt as she once did, stuck, questioning, and unnoticed. With renewed clarity and purpose, Emily stiffened her resolve. It didn't matter that she didn't have years of experience. What mattered was her commitment to help others, to ensure they had choices that free them from the binds of circumstance. Sometimes, passion could bridge the gaps of insecurity. The next day, she arrived at the community center, her heart pounding like a drum. The walls were painted in cheerful colors, but the weight of her purpose felt heavier against the vibrancy. Smiling faces bustled around her, immersed in various activities, each person seemingly confident and competent with their role. She straightened her shoulders, determined to be a part of this atmosphere, to embrace it rather than shrink before it. The room for her meeting was bright, adorned with posters detailing the center's initiatives. As she offered her introduction, the director's expression ranged from curiosity to skepticism, but the atmosphere shifted as she began to explain her vision eloquently. She felt words flow from her like never before, each sentence building upon the previous, resonating with her innate drive to enact change. But it was the questions that came next that sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. The director probed her experience and resources, a clear challenge underscoring her vulnerability. Could she really answer these directly? Each inquiry felt like a test that threatened to fracture her newfound boldness, triggering the shadows of self-doubt once more. Just as she thought her composure might crack, a sudden thought struck her. She needed to connect her endeavor back to her why, the reason she was there in the first place: to open doors, to foster growth. She answered the questions honestly, and when she admitted her inexperience, she framed it as part of her authenticity, something she realized, much to her own surprise, was an asset. Leaving the office later, Emily felt a giddy mix of fear and exhilaration. They had agreed to a pilot program, albeit a tentative one. She recognized that the real journey was only beginning, full of uncertainties and challenges. Yet the words of the man from the soup kitchen played in her mind still. If she could confront those fears now, she could unlock potential she had only dreamed of. As she stepped out into the bustling streets, her mind simmered with possibilities. The question remained, what would be the next challenge, and how would she rise to meet it? She was only beginning to scratch the surface of what it meant to take risks. With transformed perspectives and a growing team behind her, Emily was ready for whatever lay ahead. Emily stood at the edge of her new reality, watching the vibrant interactions unfold at the community center she had fought so hard to embed herself within. The nervousness that had accompanied her first meeting was now replaced with a unique brand of assurance. She had overcome an insurmountable internal barrier and caught a glimpse of the woman she aspired to be, a change-maker fueled by purpose, rather than doubt. In the weeks that followed, her initiative took off, blossoming under both her leadership and the energy of those who rallied by her side. The pilot program introduced educational workshops tailored for underserved youth, and every session she facilitated proved to be a hallmark of her evolution from diner girl to an architect of change. With each workshop, Emily's confidence solidified. Standing before a group of eager faces, she felt a sense of connection she had never experienced before. Teaching, engaging, and empowering others not only ignited her passion but allowed her to forge an identity bonded by shared purpose rather than the plight of her background. She realized this was no accident. Her history and struggles had become the bedrock upon which her new perspective was built. As milestones were achieved and progress tracked, recognition of Emily's efforts grew within the community. Local media highlighted the positive shift in engagement at the center. Finally, her greatest aspiration, the one formed in quiet moments of doubt, came to fruition when she received a nomination for a Community Leadership Award. It was an encapsulation of her journey, a testament to her relentless pursuit of transforming not just her life but also the lives of many others. The award ceremony echoed with applause as she stood before the gathered audience, her heart racing. This moment was not merely validation, it was proof of the metamorphosis she had undergone. Her values of integrity, compassion, independence, and creativity thrummed powerfully within her. She was no longer grappling with who she was. She had stepped boldly onto a stage where she defined her identity. In this room tonight are some of the most unique and talented individuals I have ever met. Together, we've demonstrated that every small act can build something monumental. She spoke, her voice steady and resonating with clarity. I stand here today because I chose to embrace my past and use it as a tool, rather than a burden. Change is possible, and it starts with all of us taking those first brave steps. As she stepped off the stage, a multitude of conversations erupted in her wake. Former classmates, once dismissive of her, now approached with admiration and respect, thanking her for the work she had initiated. The skepticism that had shadowed her past seemed to dissolve into a liquid warmth, transforming into a network of support she had longed for. Emily caught a glimpse of Mr. Thompson in the crowd, his eyes sparkling with pride. The warmth and gratitude she saw from him reinforced the idea that her journey had indeed changed not just herself but restructured their connection as well. Moments shared on the street now served as a legacy, kindness begetting courage. In that instant, Emily understood the significance of taking risks and forging her path. The leap from uncertainty into action had revealed her true potential, transforming not only her reality, but reshaping all her relationships. The empty spaces she once inhabited were replaced by a vibrant community in which she had woven her identity, intertwined with those she now called friends and allies. As she left the venue, the soft glow of streetlights flickered, casting an inviting hue on the path ahead. With renewed clarity illuminating her future, Emily realized there was still so much more to achieve. She felt a profound sense of purpose welling within her. She had the power to elevate others' stories, just as she had elevated her own. Emily stepped forward, the world awaiting her next move. Each stride echoed the resolution she now held, the drive to change the narrative beyond herself and into the hearts of those hungry for opportunity. In every risk she took, she triumphed, and she was committed to opening doors for others as they stepped through them together. Now was the moment to act, the moment to ignite change in ways she couldn't yet fully envision. Empowered and resolute, she looked to the horizon, ready to embrace all the journeys that awaited her. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.